Passion will make you rich, but being rich will not make you happy. Welcome to the Grateful Podcast with Jack Wagoner, where each and every week we explore what it takes to live a life full of purpose and gratitude. I'm your host, Jack Wagoner, and I am a deep believer in what I call the duality of gratitude and relentless action toward your goals. That's where we can feel grateful for what we have in this moment right now while pursuing something bigger and better in the future. And that's the way I like to live, and that is what we talk about here on the Grateful Podcast. The Grateful Podcast with Jack Wagoner presents. Subscribe. Hey everybody, and welcome back to episode 25 of the Grateful Podcast. I'm your host, Jack Wagoner, and today I'm super excited. I'm going to dive a lot into my story in business and really focus on why passion is what you should pursue instead of monetary value. Just like, don't do things just for money, because the money will come when you pursue your passion. So, I hope everyone's had a great week. This is going to be a pretty short episode today because I've had an insane weekend, but I'm getting this out there. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, so passion will make you rich, but being rich will make you passionate. A high net worth doesn't guarantee your happiness. Spending every day doing something that lights you up and adds value to your life is as close of a guarantee as you'll find. So while researching this topic, I found a Business Insider article, and in it he said, loving what you do is very important when it comes to happiness and wealth. Those who love their jobs make more money, accumulate more wealth, and are happier than those who don't love what they do for a living. And so I'll leave the link to this article down below. It's called "The More People Love Their Jobs, the Quicker They Get Rich." I found it super fascinating. So this dude did a study, right? Studies called Habits of the Rich. And he used a lot of data. He used data from like over 230,000 employees conducted these surveys. And 96% of the poor, they don't give their classification for poor, but 96% of the poor did not enjoy what they did for a living. 86% of the rich people liked what they did for a living. And 7% of the rich people loved what they did for a living. Now, here's where it gets interesting. It says in the article, it's clear from my data that in order to become wealthy, you must at least like what you do for a living. Those rich people who at least liked what they did for a living accumulated an average of $3.4 million. It took them 32 years to accumulate this wealth. But with the rich people that loved their jobs, so that small 7%, he found that it was extremely important to love what you do for wealth accumulation. So it paid off, it paid dividends to love what you do. The rich people who loved what they did, I'm quoting it now, for a living accumulated an average of $7.4 million, $4 million more than the wealthy who liked their jobs. It took this group of rich people 12 years to accumulate their wealth, as opposed to the 36, how many was it? 32? Yeah. As opposed to the 32 years of the people that like their jobs. So that's 20 fewer years to accumulate $4 more million. So when you compare the two groups, it's absolutely startling how important loving what you do for a living is with respect to wealth accumulation. So it keeps going. It's a pretty long article, or not too much, but at the end, he kind of listed 5 principles. So number 1 is, when you love what you do for your living, you'll spend more time doing it. 2, when you spend more time doing what you love for a living, you'll get better at doing it. Number 3, when you are better at what you do than your competition, the world will pay you more money. That seems pretty straightforward. Very true, though. You get paid money based on your value to the world around you. When you make more money than your competition, you can accumulate more wealth in a shorter period of time. Final lesson is, if you want to become richer quicker, find a job that you love and never quit. And this is a huge lesson. And it sounds so simple, right? Why? Of course, if I find a job that I love and I'll never want to quit, of course I'll get better at it. Of course, it'll allow me to accumulate more wealth, blah, blah, blah. Right? It sounds so simple. Then why does so few people do it? I think it's because of the value we put on just making money. And we think that making money will lead to happiness. And although I think a lot of people that make money are happier in material ways, a lot of times maybe it's because they love their job, right? I just don't think that sacrificing your happiness for riches is at all what you should do. And so in my first business, my YouTube automation company, I learned this lesson the hard way. I made the mistake of trying to find the quickest path to earning high income rather than long-term looking at what I love to do and figuring out something that would be sustainable for me. So I quit after 10 months. After 10 months of running up well, I was finally seeing some, I just name dropped the channel, so I'll probably cut that out. After 10 months of running it, I finally saw some good revenue. I reached a point where I could either go all in and really make a lot of money or quit. And I mean, the quitting's always an option, but I reached a point where it felt like diminishing returns. My heart just wasn't in it anymore. My purely financial motivation had finally caught up to me as I started to see money. I think so many people, with everyone on the internet, is saying, here's how you can get rich in 30 days. And no one understands how actually difficult that is. People think that getting rich is something that you can just do like fast. And if you put a little bit of time into something, like you have to work your butt off if you're one of those people that through any means is getting rich in 30 days. Like making $1 million. I don't know. That was one of my main takeaways with this. And sorry, my heater's making weird noises. Nothing I can do about that. So once my purely financial motivation like had caught up to me, and I actually did start to make money, but it just didn't feel worth it inside. I felt like I was taking advantage of my audience, wasn't doing something true to myself. But I realized that everything I'd learned, how to optimize YouTube videos for virality, how to manage multiple employees, how to manage spending versus what I actually had to grow with a limited budget. I learned that all that was super important and could really help me in whatever future endeavors I tackled. So even though I didn't necessarily love what I did, it was worth it. I learned stuff. But like I said, I reached diminishing utility, marginal utility, and I just thought it was time to pursue something more fulfilling. I was no longer super excited to manage my YouTube automation company. So I pivoted. I took everything I learned from YouTube automation, and that's when I started this podcast. To use what I learned about content strategy, business management, engaging an audience, and I applied it to really the thing I love most, which is deep, meaningful conversations with smart people, or I guess a camera, as I'm doing right now. These solo podcasts are to provide you guys direct value I don't think you get from the conversations that are coming up, and also for me to get practice just articulating and build a rapport with the audience. But I do think that my interviews are more important. These are more for engaging the audience that I've built, while the interview podcasts are for expanding my audience outward and still engaging the audience. But I don't think these are going to help me reach new people. So I launched in December. I got back on the Grateful podcast. I launched my dream idea. I just love conversations. So I've been just interviewing people who pursued what lights them up in life, and that's huge for me. I aim to inspire others to chase their dreams just as I'm chasing mine, because we deserve nothing less than our dreams. And don't let anybody tell you differently. And I'll be completely transparent. As of right now, I've not yet made a single cent for my podcast, and it'll probably be a minimum of at least a few months until I do so. There's certain requirements you need to get brand deals. I'm still learning the ins and outs of this, but that's not the point. Now that money is only a potential side effect of what I'm doing, instead of the main driver of intention, I feel much more fulfilled. I don't want to work hard on my podcast because of the money I make, but because of how it makes me feel while I'm doing it and the potential impact that my work could have on others. I think that's huge. I wish everyone could understand how it feels to wake up in the morning genuinely excited to work on something and put their heart and soul into something that means something to them. I just really don't think that the idea that society sold so many people on that you should sacrifice your well-being to get rich to then get happy is right. Why would anyone settle for anything than exactly what they want to do? We have one life. Ever since I was a little kid, I've been hooked on the idea of just being able to create your dream life through business. And I remember I was a freshman in high school, and I went through the calculations of how long it would take me or how much time I would actually spend working 9 to 5 from like the ages of 24 to 64. And over my lifetime, over that time, let's say I spent I think I put 4 weeks of vacation, which no one takes. I would spend over 8 years, like total, working a job. So if I'm spending that much time on a 9 to 5, that's 8 years of my entire life. I know it might not sound like a lot if you're living till like 80, or nowadays people say we'll live till we're like 130, my generation. Still, that's a lot of time. That's time that you could be spent doing something that you actually value instead of working to pay for the things that you value. I think we need to really switch how we look at that. Your job is so important. Because you spend so much time doing it. You create relationships through it. You build a relationship with yourself through it. It's something you do every single day. So the fact that so many people wake up really just not excited to go to their jobs is hard. And so, I guess something I have to touch on with this is that a lot of people say a lot of people don't have a choice, or that's what they say. I've never been in that position, so I don't know how that feels. But I know that I'll get comments from my listeners saying, well, some people grow up poor, they don't have a choice to do what they do. And I've seen in my life how, go listen to my podcast episode with my mom. She was going through the hardest time in her life. And instead of getting a stable job to financially support herself, she launched her business. I really encourage you to check that episode out. I think it's how to pursue your passion and love your life with Annie Wagoner. Beautiful episode. But we go over the same thing. And having that conversation and seeing role models around me, adult role models. My dad's an artist. That episode will be coming out next week. Parental figures that have really figured out how to make their job something that they love, and how much that's affected them. Seeing that, it's really changed how I think about life. Because I don't think that you do need to be in a financially stable position to go after what you love. I think that's a lie. Honestly, this is also kind of an out-of-pocket thing to say. Does money even matter? You live once. One day, you're going to die. So does it really matter how much money you have at the end of that? Obviously, you want enough to put the food on the table and have some shelter, but I know I could live with a backpack full of clothes and an apartment 8 by 8 feet. You know what I mean? as long as you have people in your life that love you, you're doing something that fulfills you, I think that's much more important than having a lot of money and assets to your name. I mean, I love the song Love Yours by J. Cole. I think that encapsulates kind of the entire message I'm going for right now, where he says in a repeating line, no such thing as a life that's better than yours. But he also says many times, I think being broke was better. And he says he's not disrespecting the people that are broke. He says, here, I'll read the line. I think being broke was better. Now, I don't mean that phrase with no disrespect to all my, I can't say that word, out there living in debt, cashing minimal checks, turn on TV, see a Rolex, and fantasize about a life with no stress. And he's like, no, I mean it sincerely. Living with nothing to lose. I hope one day you hear me. There's always going to be a bigger house, but as long as the people in the house love you dearly, that's all that matters. I think that's how that should be mainstream. That should be things that we talk about as a society. That should be what we're educated on. Finding something that you love, not finding something that makes you money, because what is that money going to do if you just don't have valuable things in your life? It's what we talked about in the solo podcast last week. Sometimes you think that you have to work hard for something when you could just find that thing right there. What I mean by that is people think that they have to work hard and earn money to get happiness, when maybe that happiness would just come by doing something they love on a daily basis. Crazy, right? The thing that you do for 8 hours every single day, 5 days a week. If you love it, you'll be happier than if you hate that thing. I don't know, man. Why does that seem like something that people... I really hope that my generation does that, because I bet that so many of the problems we see in society literally just come from people being miserable doing what they do. People being fed this idea from a young age, at 18, you have to know exactly what you want to do. You should go into it, go to college, get a degree. People being stuck and doing this thing that I sound like I was hating on college. I'm not. I'm going to go to college. But being told that they have to stick with that, you can be flexible. Go with the flow and just figure out what you want to do and do that thing. Don't let money be as much of a factor. That's how I'm going to live my life. Because as that study showed, when you do what you love, you're going to make more money. So do what you love. All right. It's a quick episode, like I said tonight. That's all I got for the day. If you enjoyed listening, please share this with someone that you think could use it. Share it with some kids my age. Because us 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds, high school seniors that are being told we need to figure out our futures right now. No, we don't. We'll figure it out as we go. We should get an idea and find out things we love and just pursue those, and it'll open doors along the way. But you don't need to have your life planned out. If anything, I think that ruins the excitement of it a little bit. So send this to someone you think could use it. Leave a review if you liked it. That would be huge for me. And come back on Wednesday. I have a great podcast with my best friend coming out Wednesday. It's going to be amazing. All right. Have a great day. Stay grateful.